Good afternoon, Frank Boudreau with Launch Point here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing okay in this crazy, unprecedented time. We've heard that said a million times, I know, but I'll just go ahead and say it again. It is kind of crazy, but I think we're all starting to adjust and get used to it, and things will improve. I'm pretty confident in that. I think we all are. Well, last week I shared, Last week I shared a message with a group of men that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. So give me a few minutes if you would, and let me share at least part of that message. I won't have time to share the whole thing, but let me share at least part of it. And it starts with a verse, Matthew 20:28 says, "The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Now, I don't know if you guys, of course, Easter is this Sunday, and I know that we'll be celebrating Easter in our house, even though we won't do it in the traditional way that we've all kind of come used to. But you know what? I think we're going to do it in a more natural way this weekend, since we're having to do it in our homes. And hopefully more and more the focus is going to be on the true reason for this particular Sunday, and that is Resurrection Sunday. But if you really think about it, hopefully you've had the chance to see the movie, The Passion of the Christ. Or maybe you're like me and you've read the scriptures and you've been around the Word long enough that you really have a pretty good understanding of what Christ went through before he actually hung on the cross. Hanging on the cross was bad enough, but the whole ordeal was pretty intense. But he actually came specifically to serve in that manner. He actually came to the earth. He gave up so much of himself. He gave up all of himself to come and serve. So I think it's really important to kind of think about that whole perspective when we think about why he came, when we think about serving others. Because serving others is really about being others-minded, thinking about other people before yourself. So let's think about how that comes home in the simplest of forms. And I'll speak mainly to the men and the husbands primarily, but this applies to anybody in any family, for any family member. But the Word also talks about that husbands are to give themselves and sacrifice themselves, give themselves to their wives as Christ gave himself for the church. And basically, he gave everything. And so we're challenged to do the same thing. We're challenged to give everything. But basically what that really means is giving of self, laying ourselves down, putting our own issues and needs aside, and focusing on the other person, focusing on our spouse. Or if you're the wife, same thing applies, focusing on your husband. I like this other statement where Paul tells the Philippians in Philippians 2:3-8, that we should do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than ourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. Now, maybe you're not heavy into Scripture. Maybe you don't go to church. Maybe you don't believe in all this stuff. But it's the golden rule, right? Treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself, and that'll come around to you. That's a basic principle that'll apply whether you believe in what the Scriptures tell you or not. That's a basic principle that applies to everyday life. And so now is more a time than any that it's difficult to do, because we're thinking about the situation that we're in. We're thinking about the difficult times that we're struggling with. We're wanting somebody else to hear our story. We're wanting somebody else to hear what we're struggling with, and give us some sense of sympathy or something. And that's human nature. We all feel that. So it's even more difficult today to put somebody else first. But the truth of the matter is, we're actually wired in such a way to serve others. If we don't serve others in some way, shape, or form, forgive me for the squeakiness of my voice. I'm fighting allergies like you wouldn't believe right now. But if we don't, in some way, shape, or form, serve others, there's going to be a gap or a hole in us, because we're wired to do so. We're designed and built in such a way that serving others actually can bring us a tremendous amount of satisfaction and complete fulfillment. It kind of completes the whole of who we are. Sure, we need others feed into us and to invest in us. We all need that. Others need that as well. So feeding and helping and serving others is a way that we can also be fulfilled. And I know that doesn't make sense in some ways. I'm sure you've heard the old adage, is better to give than to receive. And that's really what it's talking about. It's talking about putting others first, seeing their needs met, helping them to have their needs met. And it really fills a specific gap in your life. I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to do that today, tomorrow, every opportunity that you get. I promise you, there's always going to be an opportunity to serve others. There's always going to be an opportunity to make an impact in other people's lives. So I want to challenge you to do that today. God bless and take care.